G'day Battlers and welcome to the G'day Battlers podcast, Road to World Edition. I'm PvPSteve.
And I'm debbiepebble, and in this series, we'll be talking to each of the 2023 Play Pokemon World Championship contenders from the land down under as we head towards Yokohama, Japan.
And in this episode, we've got a G'day Battlers first, because today we're going to be speaking to the top 3 competitors from the Sydney Play Pokemon Regional. One, we're going to be talking to fellow Newcastle battler, or Novocastrian as we call it, AgentMagikarp, who had already actually qualified for Worlds from his 4th place result at OCIC, but has come back with, just a fire under his spirit, and he's come ahead and taken out the entire Sydney competition in 1st place as well, which means that his invitation that he would be receiving from Sydney has actually been allowed to cascade.
We'll also be speaking to RicFlareon, last year's Melbourne Regional Champion and World competitor, who took out the runners-up place in this year's Sydney Regional to secure his back-to-back Worlds invitation.
And of course, thanks to AgentMagikarp's cascaded invite, we also have mikeymorgs with us, who finished 3rd in his first ever Play Pokemon Regional Tournament, heading straight to Japan to take his shot at the title. With all of that said, let's get into it. G'day, Battlers! G'day, Battlers! Welcome in, RicFlareon, AgentMagikarp, mikeymorgs, to the G'day Battlers podcast. I mean, this is the last episode of the 4, because this was the last regional tournament of the 4 that were held in Australia. Well, I guess regional plus OCIC. But, I mean, with that said, I guess we should probably do the whole introductions bit. So, AgentMagikarp, tell us sort of, your in-game name, where you're from, how you started Pogo, that sort of thing.
Hi, my name is AgentMagikarp. So I'm from Newcastle, but originally I'm from Sydney. I moved to Newcastle about 10 years ago. So I've always played Pokemon from when I was 10 years old. So I remember I was at a Harry Potter trivia night, and there was the release of Pokemon Go that day or that night. So I stepped out, downloaded it, and then started playing that night. I'm not sure how my team went on the trivia night. I think I've lost. I think we really tanked that night. Maybe because I left. So yeah, that's how I started Pokemon Go.
Dedicated from the get-go. I love it. Sorry, team. But RicFlareon, who did you let it down when you started Pokemon Go, and where are you from, all the rest?
Oh, I don't think I let anyone down, but yeah, I'm RicFlareon. I'm from Sydney. Yeah, I'm the same, I guess. I was into Pokemon when I was younger. I played Pokemon Showdown a bit. That's where I started using the name RicFlareon, and then I wanted to make sure I grabbed that name again, so I got in early on Pokemon Go, and that's, why I started it and kept playing, so yeah.
Yeah, obviously part of the significant interest in wrestling that surrounds the Tassie Timbers, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've always been into wrestling as well, so that's part of why I picked this name.
It's good. It's a very, very solid name. Unlike some other people on this podcast, like mikeymorgs, who... Do you want to sort of say g'day, give us the old intro?
G'day, yes, I'm mikeymorgs, and he's making that joke because I'm creatively named mikeymorgs, and my real name is Michael Morgan. So, very creative there from me. I'm originally from Brisbane, lived in Sydney for a long time. Just recently moved up to the Sunshine Coast in the last week, which is great. I first downloaded Pokemon Go on the morning that it came out, I think 7th of the 7th in 2016. Like everybody, the other guys, I loved Pokemon as a kid, and I remember when the first advert for Pokemon Go, a few months before it was released, came out saying that it was being made. So I actually marked it on my calendar, and then I played a huge amount early on. Took a break for about 15 months and started playing again in London. And that's about it for me.
Fantastic. Now, obviously, we're not just bringing you guys here just for fun. We want to know how you guys actually got started in the PvP realm of things. AgentMagikarp, tell me, where was your, I suppose, where did it all start?
So well, Pokemon Go had been out for a few years at that time, and I think I wasn't into the whole raiding scene that much. I mean, I did a fair few raids, but I was also very competitive, uh, and back in my Pokemon day. Um, so as soon as PvP came out, it was something that I did straight away. I don't know what I did in the first couple of weeks that came out, but I did that, and then I started the very first Sylph tournament in our area, in the Maitland area, and then I did pretty much every Sylph tournament until this very last one now. So we did monthly Sylph tournaments in Newcastle as well with Steve, and look, we've had a fair few battles over the years, so that has been fun. But yeah, no, I started pretty much the first time it came out, and still doing it really.
Fantastic. And I think now, if with the incorporation of like GBL that's come through, like in the initial stages, obviously PvP, they didn't really have anything. They were just like, hey, you can battle a friend, and then brought out Go Battle League. And now that we have Play Pokemon, we've come to, this point of the, I suppose, esports that we are in now. Now, how about yourself, Rick? Where did it all start from, and how did you get into PvP?
So when it first came out, I had like a local messenger group, so I would battle a couple of the guys in that. But I didn't really get super into it until the GBL came out. Yeah, I was pretty competitive in that. Like I always tried to hit the top rank or whatever. So yeah, I didn't get into Sylph or anything until a couple years back. But yeah, GBL is sort of how I got started.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the early stages, rank 10 was the hot ticket, and now when you get rank 10, you're like, shortchanged. So, but everyone's after that pose. Now, how about yourself, Mikey? How did you get started into PvP?
Well, as I mentioned before, I sort of picked it up Pokemon again when I was living in London, and it was a good way to make friends over there. And they did a monthly Sylph tournament in North London in the Discord that I was a part of, and so I'd go along to that usually just because it was at a pub and I could drink beers and chat to people that play Pokemon as well. So that's when I started doing it, and I remember playing PvP back before they even had the mini games for the charge attacks, and you used to have to mash your phone as hard as you could to try and get the most power on your charge attacks. I don't know if anyone else remembers that. You'd almost break your phone screen.
Yep, the circles.
Yeah, the circles in the middle. Yeah. So that's how I got into PvP originally, because one of my good mates over there that I lived around the corner from was really into it. And then quite quickly I overtook him, and he got a bit annoyed at me about that. But yeah, so that was sort of it. That's when I first started.
That's a good friend, let's be honest. The ones that are competitive, you always need like a challenger in your life. So I think, if you didn't get started or didn't encourage you, we wouldn't be here right now. So kudos to him, but if he's annoyed, too bad. Now, before we get talking about Sydney and heading into Sydney, let's roll back a little bit and head into OCIC. I actually really want to chat with AgentMagikarp here in regards to OCIC. You competed in OCIC, you qualified in OCIC. Tell me about your run in Melbourne.
Yeah, so that was far exceeded my expectations than what I had hoped. So I competed in Melbourne the year before in obviously in 2022, and I came like, I don't know what they're called, 9 to 12. So
top 12.
I'll say I finished 9th, but it could be anywhere between 10, 11, or 12. So my goal was to just just get top 8 and just to see how I go. So with the team I ran, I saw that some Dunsparce was, and I think a few other people knew Dunsparce that tournament as well, was doing well and was sort of spicy. So I just paired that with a few of the Metamons. And yeah, so that was pretty much the team I used. But the bracket came out like that like a couple of the hour or hour and a half before the tournament started, and I looked at it and I was like, I was at the very top of the list, and I was versing Echo Mana. I haven't actually versed him before, but I've heard that he does pretty well in like some like in Rick's faction and just in general really. But I haven't versed him before. Being at the top of the list too, and I was like, am I going to be on stream here? And yeah, so that turned out to be the case. Versus Echo, and then yeah, so had to get the nerves out, I guess. So I won that match, which was amazing. And then I walked off the stage and I was like, "Hey, you're up again." And I was like, "What?" And then I was versing Trotter, and I was like, "Oh, okay, here we go. This is not going to be a good time as well." So going back up, sitting in the same seat, going back up on stream again.
I mean, the seat was already warm, so you're already there.
Yeah, and I logged out and everything. I was like, oh yeah, that was good to do. Yeah, and so Trotter was also a hard matchup. I think I almost gave him a win con there at the end when I sort of when I caught the move on Dunsparce, and he could have just farmed me down and taken the match. But yeah, I mean, luckily it worked out for me, so which was good. And then yeah, the next few matches was off stream, which was also good to just try not to get on stream for a bit. I mean, I don't mind being on stream. It's just sometimes you just want to get in the zone and not have a million other people watching you. So then I'm just looking at the bracket now. I versed Brit, and then Rob Drogo, which is another past champion, which was also very tough opponent. So I think I got good alignment there. So that was a very interesting one and very hard match to
probably against his Bastiodon.
Yeah, it was definitely against the Bastiodon. But also his Shadow Drapion, I remember as well. And then I had an Azumarill, and I didn't know what his moveset was at the time, and yeah, so which ended up being Aqua Tail and Crunch, but yeah, so that was one that I kept. I was pretty proud of because him being a past winner. I actually never versed Robert as well, so but I know how good he can be, so that was good. And then going into my group final, which was on stream, which I lost 0-2 against Nightbra, another world invite. He played very well. I played terribly. I was like, this is not going to end well. And then going into the losers bracket, which was against Rob again, I was like, okay, I'm not sure how I'm going to do this time around. But I just remember in the last match, I just like the last match against him. He brought his Bastiodon in the lead, and my backline was terrible against Bastiodon. So I just had to keep alignment, and yeah, I went to the final stage of that, and I was like, yes, this is good. I'm top 8 now. You know, go to the next day. But no, that's not the case. I kept not with this international tournament. They had to go to straight to top 3.
Yeah, just so for context, at OCIC they decided to do top 3 on Sunday and have all the finals play pretty much back to back with TCG and VG, all in like the first half of Sunday. So Saturday, what I like to call moving day, it was just a long day. And I wanted to ask you as well, do you feel that you would have played better if it was a top 4 and that you could play on the Sunday, or did you feel like quite satisfied to be like, all right, I'm done for the day on that Saturday?
So I had, I'm in both minds about it. So going into like the next match was with Rick, and we were both saying like, I wish we had this was the next day, because I was glad I was finished for the day, so I didn't have to stress the whole night thinking about all these matchups and things for top 4. But also I feel that a bit more of sleep and rest may have Vish played he vished Vish, so he played magnificently, and I wouldn't, so that was not going to be a good time as well. So but going into top 8 against Rick, so I knew how Rick played.
You don't have to talk about this one.
That was a good win too. So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, no, you played it well. Yeah.
So that was and then going to the next one, I was playing Bode, which I've never heard of him before, and I spoke to him, and he said he played PvP for a long time, but he hadn't joined any like Sylph tournaments or anything like that. So we didn't know much about him. He did that peekaboo on me as well, which was very good. But that was again a good win, and then coming off that, I was like, did I just qualify for Worlds? So I think the pressure kind of went off a bit going against Vish. So I was like, I just qualified, so it's just really going for the next level now. But the pressure sort of came off. So maybe, and it was already late in the day. So it was that plus Vish being my opponent. My run ended there. So
and I mean, look, you came away with a 7-2 result, which is pretty wacko good, especially against some of the best. Like, as you said, like a number of Worlds invitees from both this season and last season on your way through. And then, like, again, as you said, once you're in that qualifying top 4, it's pretty happy days at that point. It's like, a pass here is just gravy. And of course the glory that comes with it. But I mean, being top 4 also, you were the only one that like got their trophy and all on that Saturday, when everyone else, like the top 3, had to wait until that Sunday.
Yeah, that was fun. I actually had to because I was flying from Melbourne, I had to get an extra luggage for all the stuff I had to cart back. So yeah.
Suffering from success.
Trophy was very unexpected. So I'm extremely happy that I got top 4 and the trophy and everything else that came with it. So so that was my OCIC run.
Yeah, definitely a really incredible run, and of course, as the fellow Novocastrian on the podcast, much pride from this man. But that does sort of like take us into Sydney, because Sydney wasn't actually that far. It wasn't that much later than OCIC. Obviously, there was a little bit of not dodgy stuff, but it had to move around. It was originally supposed to be quite late. It was supposed to be another couple months later, but then due to some shenanigans with the venue being, despite a deposit being put down, the venue kicked out Pokemon Go and had to scramble to get a new date that was 2 months earlier. It ended up being really soon after OCIC. So, I mean, I guess we can start Rick, if I sort of want to come to you as someone who also, like, obviously got to top 8 in OCIC, has performed very well, did really well in last Play Pokemon season, coming out with the big, coming out with the medal, doing really well in the World Championships in London. Can you sort of just tell us a little bit about your journey through the Play Pokemon circuit a little bit through Sydney?
Through Sydney. Yeah, so I was one of the only people who did all 4 of the regionals in Australia.
Potentially one of the only 2? Like you and
Yeah,
Misa?
I think Misa was the only other one, yeah. So yeah, OCIC I came 7th, 8th. So my goal was to qualify for Japan, obviously, so it was a bit bittersweet sort of a result. And then I did Perth as well, which was like, I think it was 2 weeks after that. And yeah, I came 4th there, so again, very close. So yeah, I went into Sydney. I was kind of, I don't know, I wasn't expecting much at that point, but I was pretty focused all throughout the day. I had to play Gon in the first round, who I know he's a very good player. He's come very close to qualifying as well. So I was able to beat him 2-1. I can't remember the exact order of everyone I played, but I played Vish at some point, Inner Bloom, just a lot of players who I think are very good. So,
I think Steve quoted it as, I remember getting a message from Steve going, Rick's in the bracket of death.
Yeah,
I'm like, no!
It was not easy, that's for sure. Yeah, so eventually I got to the winners final of our group against Mikey, and he beat me 2-0. But yeah, I got revenge on him later. Made it to the finals against AgentMagikarp and had a 10-game series, bit of a marathon, but yeah, he was able to beat me in the end. But yeah, I was just super stoked to get second because yeah, that's all I wanted really.
Yeah, and it was like the case that because AgentMagikarp had already qualified at OCIC, it was a case that you only needed to make it to the top 3 to confirm qualification. So after you defeated Anacor 13 in the top 4, like before facing Mikey, you were qualified. So how did that feel? Like, was it like AgentMagikarp where you felt the pressure had been taken off a bit? Or were you still really focused on wanting to hit that first or second place?
Yeah, I was still very focused. Like, it was obviously a huge relief, but yeah, I was very focused. I did want to win. I did want to try my best to win, but couldn't quite make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was there watching along, and it was definitely some very close battles through that final 10. But of course, Mikey Morgs, well in the thick of it as well, coming through into the winners bracket. Mikey, do you sort of want to give us a bit of insight into how you approached the Sydney tournament? Was it your first Play Pokemon tournament?
Yeah, it was my first ever Play Pokemon tournament. Yeah, I didn't do any last season, and this was the only one that I could actually get to. So I ran a slightly off meta team because I didn't have Noctowl, Lantern, or G-Fisk on my squad. And
wow.
Yeah, my thought process behind it was that if I got stuck in mirror matches with those Pokemon, someone was going to have an attack break point I didn't have, or conversely, they could probably have a better IV Pokemon. So I needed to figure out a way to get around those without it being, you know, sort of a hard loss, which is what I did with my team. So coming into the Sydney tournament, I actually had a pretty brutal 2 or 3 days before that with work and things like that. So I was doing some pretty crazy hours, like early mornings and then late nights. So I only got to bed at about midnight, 1 o'clock the night before, and I was up at 5 so that I could be out there for a 9 a.m. start when we didn't actually start until about 11:45.
Yeah. A classic for Australian
Yeah,
tournaments.
classic. Yeah.
Yeah, got there nice and early, waited in line for an hour and a bit to get into the stadium, into the arena, for them to tell us that delay us for like 2 hours. So by the time that the winners final started against AgentMagikarp, I was completely brain dead because it had been, you know, 12 hours basically. It had been a really long day by that stage. I think that the winners bracket didn't start. Our battle Magikarp didn't start until about 6 or 6:30 or something, which was crazy. It was crazy. But so just to rewind a little bit, in the group stages, I had kind of a dream run. I actually only dropped one game in the group stages, and you know, I battled against some pretty tough battlers, but I managed to beat in a Bloom 2-0. And I don't think I've ever beaten him before. I think I've only played him once in Sylph. And yeah, so I was able to beat him 2-0. And then I'd only ever beaten Rick once ever, which was in an Australian Shield earlier this year. And I just remember I don't remember what happened in game 1, but in game 2, I led my Charm Shadow A9 into his Powder Snow Shadow A9, and he had to switch out of that, and I had Toxapex in the back. So I just two-shield charmed down his Swampert, and I knew that I had that, and that was a big relief for me. And then in the finals, the winners' final against AgentMagikarp, he might remember this, but in game 2, there was at one stage where we were even shields and I had alignment, but for some reason I thought that I could two-shield my Shadow A9 and I could charm down his Registeel.
Yeah, that was an interesting tactic.
Oh yeah, that was just a brain explosion, you know. And I think it might have been also because the group stages, when you keep winning, your battles come up really, really quickly. And so, you know, we did our 6 battles in the group stage, and it was like 5 minutes at most in between each battle. And so I was riding on adrenaline through that, and then when it got to the finals, you know, we'd had an hour and a half, 2 hours just sitting sort of waiting for that to start. And I should have got a coffee or something in between because I was a bit exhausted. In fact, actually later that night, I went to a friend's house afterwards. Had some friends from Sweden over, and I fell asleep on the couch that night while I was at a party. So it kind of just shows how exhausted I was.
While wearing his medal, just passed out on the couch.
Yeah, well, I didn't wear the medal out. I didn't want to lose it, but actually, no, I did. I did wear the medal out. Actually, yeah, I did. My wife convinced me that I should for the birthday that we went to first. Yeah, so passed out with the medal on. I'm just glad that I had nice friends that didn't take any photos of me.
That you know of.
Yeah, that I know of. And then Rick definitely got his revenge, knocking me out. But I think you might all remember that were there. I had a big explosion of relief. I actually smacked the table when I found out that I'd got the world's invite. And yeah, that was very good.
I think we were chatting afterwards. like when we finished the group stages, before we started our winners final. Pretty much that, I think you found out before we started our winners final.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. Because there'd been a bit of, we weren't too sure because the organisers had told us that the finals were going to work differently. And so we spent about an hour waiting for confirmation on exactly what was going to happen. And then they confirmed it, and that was a big relief, which was good. But, it's worked out pretty well for me. So happy days.
Yeah, I do remember that there was a bit of a case where there was like, is this the case? And they didn't want to confirm it. I think they just wanted to like hard fact check and didn't want to tell you that you'd qualified, and then you take your foot off the brake and then go, oh, actually, yeah, we did an oopsie. But it did work out well. And I remember it being quite a late realization for you. Maybe AgentMagikarp just using it as a tactic to, soften you up for that winners final. Make you not be as dedicated towards it.
Yeah,
it was a very close match.
Well, this is the thing, is that I think I'm a lot better in best of 3 than I am in best of 5, because I was actually up in our best of 5 match, AgentMagikarp. I was up 2-1.
You were, and
no,
I remember, like, if you caught one of the moves, I think in game 4, instead of me just farming down, then you would have won it. So yeah, that was my big memory of our match. So also the 2 shield farm down. Yeah, that was that too.
It gives me nightmares. I'm just glad there's no footage of it anymore.
I mean, that is the big thing, that Sydney, like, it didn't have that streamed experience that OCIC did, which I thought was interesting, because the other games were actually streamed at Sydney, right where our Pokemon Go sort of base was with our tables. Right behind one wall, you could see the casters for the VG and the TCG. So maybe didn't get the streaming experience. You might have to experience that for the first time at OCIC. AgentMagikarp and Rick might have a little bit of a leg up on that front of just being in that vibe. But I mean, Rick, when you sort of like, you've been through 4 tournaments, right? And you get that qualification in number 4. Obviously you're still dedicated, you're still going for it, but you end up like, you finish in 2nd, which is a fantastic result against, again, you were going through the group of death. It was some fantastic battlers that you battled through. How were you sort of like celebrating? Like, were you just sending bulk Discord messages out? Were you relying on everyone else to get the information out instead, and just like people coming to you? Like, were you telling family? What was the sort of vibe coming away from the tournament?
I don't know if I messaged anyone, to be honest, like straight away. I was pretty exhausted, like by the end of all that. Yeah, like I obviously told my family that I'd be going to Japan, so they were stoked. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't do too much celebrating, to be honest.
Yeah, let everyone celebrate for you, because I think very much the case that I definitely saw a lot of messages being thrown around in group chats and the like, with regards to, especially in the Tassie Timbers, giving mad props, because obviously the Tassie Timbers being your real home, away from home.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a few of the other boys had qualified as well, so it was, they were definitely happy for me.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, AgentMagikarp, obviously, like, you were coming into this tournament. I mean, we didn't really talk about this, but you had just qualified from OCIC. So what was your mindset going into Sydney as someone who had already qualified? Because, I mean, whatever the mindset was, apparently it worked pretty well.
So I didn't, it was pretty relaxed, to be honest. So again, like you said, the pressure was off. So I was going into it, just to do as well as I can, and just be proud of what I can do. So yeah, the nerves were pretty contained. So I mean, I wasn't in the group of death, so I think I had a dream run as well. In that tournament. But yeah, going up against 5 rounds against Mikey, and then 10 rounds against Rick. That you know, I didn't have anything more to sweat out at the end of that. So that was that was some really sweaty battles there. And even at the end, I think even at the end against my 10th battle against Rick, when I led Noctowl into his Trev in that last match, I was like, okay, this is good, but for some reason, Rick being Rick, he almost came out of it, and I thought I misplayed that hard, and then and then coming out of that was really an amazing feeling after coming out of it, being champion of the Sydney tournament. So
yeah, absolutely, champion of Sydney regional. And like, firstly, also like, congratulations to all three of you, like, qualifying. But we have a top 6 actually in our chat, so let's talk about this lucrative Wailmer that appeared up in Sydney regionals. Stephen.
Really put me on the spot. Yeah, surprise, guys. We didn't just invite number 1, 2, and 3. We also invited equal number 5, 6. But yeah. So for those who aren't aware, I also competed in the Sydney regionals, and on my team of 6, I did have a Wailmer on the squad, which wasn't technically the first Wailmer ever brought to a Play Pokemon tournament, because someone had brought a Shadow Wailmer, but it wasn't like a serious team. Like, I think it was like, Pikachu and Wailmer. Like, they'd clearly just entered something on the form. And
wait, you're calling your team serious?
Okay, they were mostly.
I think more importantly, Pikachu not serious.
Actually, I retract all statements. I understand why I shouldn't have been asked to be on here at all. This is actually, because here's the thing. Going into this tournament, I was like, I decided very early on I was bringing one meme pick, and I was actually debating between Wailmer, Pikachu, or Ditto. Ditto because it's not eligible in PvP, and it actually, I think they only just, like in the last 2 days, added to the rule set that you can't bring Ditto onto your Play Pokemon team. Because I looked, I read through all the rules in case, and it was like, well, there's no rule that says you can't bring a Ditto to Play Pokemon. It was a real Airbud situation. But in the end, decided to bring in that Wailmer, and also Shadow Alolan Muck, because it was the first tournament that was eligible. And to be honest with you, that combination actually kind of worked pretty well, because Wailmer being on my team attracted a couple more Trevenants than there might have been otherwise. And I was running a lot of Shadow Alolan Muck, Noctowl, like sort of double anti Trevenant. And I was going in expecting to lose. I was like, I'm here for funsies. I haven't had any time to practice. I don't even know Shadow Alolan Muck's matchups. So I just sort of ran in there, and then I lost in the first round. So it was like, oh, here it comes. And then round 2, I won. Round 3, I won. Round 4, I won. And I was like, okay, this is getting a little ridiculous. And then I won another one, and it was like, oh, is this top 8 now? is this right? And then won another one, and then ended up in top 6, and losing to Anacor 13 in a very close set, by the way, which I think I can't recall exactly, but I think. And I was very much running on adrenaline as well. I relate very much to what you said, Mikey, on that front, because it was a long day, especially in these Play Pokemon tournaments. When you play in the losers bracket, you essentially double the amount of matches that you have to play, because you battle someone in the losers bracket, someone else comes down from winners. You battle them, you battle another person in the losers bracket. And so it's sort of like losing in the first round sort of put me in a spot where it was the maximum number of battles to push through with Wailmer on the squad. But yeah, look, it came out with top 6, which I was over the moon at top 16. I was over the moon plus at top 8. I was just happy to come away with Wailmer. No, I think Worlds qualifications went to those who deserved it. We'll put it that way.
Look, I think I'm glad you lost in the first round, because I would have had to face you in round 3 or 4 or something like that. So
You
dodged.
I would have been so much in trouble. So.
It was actually, I lost in the first round because I was up against someone with a Shadow Dragonite that absolutely destroyed me. And the thing that Wailmer replaced on my team was Shadow A9. So I actually would have had a really good answer if I hadn't brought Wailmer. But, you know, it worked out for the best. I'm happy with the path that was taken. Even if I didn't get to face Newcastle legend, AgentMagikarp.
And now you're known as Whale Boy.
I'm pretty sure like the day after I said something in the Arena Australis Discord, the Discord for Australian PvP, and Dank Broad was like, "Shut up, Whale Boy." Fair enough.
We were all waiting for the Go Stadium little infographic to come out with your Wailmer. Just like patiently waiting, going, where is it? Where is it? Sydney got neglected. And it finally got released when you were sleeping. So I'm just like, all right, it's out. Woo! Everyone was waiting.
Like 7 p.m. or.
Oh, he knows me too well.
Yeah. Oh, it's really close to your bedtime. Oh, bless. Alrighty. Now, back to the boys. Now, Yokohama, Japan. It is from this podcast recording date. That's about 6 weeks away. So I want to know, what are you guys doing leading up to Japan? Have we started preparation? Have we started looking at teams? And also, like, how excited are we going into Japan? I mean, like, it's one of, where Pokemon all started, starting with AgentMagikarp.
Yeah, so I mean, going there, it would be super exciting because it would be my first time going to Japan, and I've always wanted to go. But in terms of preparation, and trying to get that excitement level up, it hasn't been there because I have a number of life events going on right now in terms of, like, I sold my house and I'm pretty much homeless by the time I leave for the plane for Japan. I'm insane. Yeah, as in we haven't got a house yet. So yeah, so that's my so in terms of preparation, not a whole lot. I mean, I'm keen to watch NAIC to see what the meta is like, and what the North American guys would do in that tournament, because that's the last one of the season. That's what everyone will see. But it's just something that I'm super excited for, because I'm also bringing my family as well, my wife and kid. So they're also super excited to come with a Magikarp in hand too.
That's gonna be super cute.
Yeah. So haven't done a lot of prep. I'm hoping I will do some, in the next month. Sorry, not the next month. The next few weeks or so. And then getting there just will be super amazing, because I'm just extremely happy just being able to qualify for Worlds. So we'll see how we go. Hopefully I don't bomb out in the first round. So yeah.
No, it should be really, really exciting. Are you did you manage to squeeze in Go Fest as well?
I have. So I got my ticket pretty early on, so I'm doing Sunday morning. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So hopefully all the bugs will be sorted out by then.
Yeah, I'll see you there. Awesome. How about you, Mikey? How excited are you to be heading over to Japan, and have you started doing any prep?
Yeah, I'm pumped. I actually used to live in Japan. I was this is a long time ago, it feels like. But I was a ski instructor in Japan, so I was over there I did 3 seasons as a ski instructor in Hakuba, which is on the main island. In fact, I was actually there when the tsunamis hit, whenever that was. It was 2011. So I've spent a lot of time in Japan, and I got married in December, and my wife and I, we wanted to go to Japan for our honeymoon. And since our first kind of honeymoon over to New Zealand, we caught COVID the day we arrived.
Oh no.
So that wasn't too great. So we've turned this trip to Japan into our real honeymoon, and yes, managed to get the permission slip signed so that I can go to Go Fest in Osaka as well. So I'll be doing that on Sunday evening, on the afternoon session on Sunday. And yeah, look, I pumped for the World Champ tournament, but I can tell you my wife won't be attending that. She'll be off exploring the city or doing something that she finds interesting, because especially after the experience at Homebush, I don't really think that she wants to be sitting around for all that period of time when she doesn't really like Pokemon. Not the way that I do, anyway.
I was going to say, like, with all your Japanese experience, you could have been our tour guide, but I think that you might have some other responsibilities to attend to.
Yeah, well, somebody posted in the on Discord. There's from on one of the Discord channels there. There's the preparation for the Go Fest, and I think it was Vish said, "Oh, make sure that you register for Pokemon Center." And my response was along the lines of, "Oh, well, I really don't think that I can drag my wife to any more Pokemon-related things while we're in Japan this trip," which is fair enough. In terms of preparation, yes, look, similar to Agent Magikarp, we've had a pretty big shift. So in the last kind of 2 weeks, we've actually moved from Sydney to the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, and that's pretty big, because we've had to clear out the house, my family house in Rose Bay, that's been lived in for over 20 years, because that's getting sold. So it's pretty huge shift. However, it was 27 degrees and sunny today in the middle of winter, so pretty happy about that. I guess in terms of preparation team-wise and looking at teams, the big elephant in the room is whether they're going to allow Carbink to be used or not. And until we're given a firm answer on whether that's going to be in Worlds or not, I think that's going to have to influence a lot of team building, because it is meta defining if it's there.
Do you currently have a Carbink?
No, I don't. But
yeah,
you can get it. We can get it at GoFest in person. So I can get one if needed. But I think that it really is going to influence how you build your team, because all of a sudden a lot of top meta picks are now not quite as strong. I think that we're going to have to look at more counters to things like G-Fisk, because there's going to be G-Fisk around a lot more because of Wall's Carbink. But yeah, I think that's the elephant in the room that Play Pokemon needs to address sooner rather than later. If it's going to be available, we all need to prepare for it. If it's not going to be usable in the tournament, then I think the meta's going to be pretty set based off what happens at NAIC.
Yeah, it'd be interesting at this stage, and they did announce recently that Carbink is not allowed at NAIC, but come to Worlds, which is in, like I said earlier, that in 6 weeks' time, who knows what the rules will be at that point. So yeah, no, you do make an interesting point. It will be a lot to think about leading up to it, and trying to accommodate for both with or without Carbink, I think will be the question leading into the preparation into Japan. Now, Rick, how about yourself? I know you're super excited to qualify for Japan. Have you got any plans, and what's your prep leading up to it?
Yeah, so I'm doing Osaka Go Fest as well, so that should be good. I've never been to Japan either, so that's pretty exciting. Like, I'm not much of a traveler, so I've got really no idea what to expect over there. So, but yeah, it's going to be a good time. Like I was lucky enough to attend Worlds last year, and that was like a great experience. So I imagine Japan is going to be even better because it's like the home of Pokemon. So yeah, and in terms of prep, I haven't done any yet. I haven't moved houses or anything. I've just been lazy.
Are you sure?
Yeah. But yeah, I'm actually going to take a week off work before leaving to Japan, so I'll have plenty of time to prep, I think. So, yeah, hopefully I'll do all right.
Look, I mean, this man's saying he's not much of a traveller, but in the last year, not only did he go to Melbourne for the Play Pokemon tournament, and then go to London for Worlds, and then go to Brisbane, and then go to Melbourne again, and then go to Perth.
Yeah, I mean, recently I've sort of changed my ways, but before all this Play Pokemon stuff, yeah, didn't do much traveling.
I think you're John
That is one of
Hankey's like.
the best. Oh,
No, I was going to
Go
pop in and say, like, I think you're John Hankey's dream. You're like going out there.
Yeah, exactly.
no, and it is really one of the best parts of this entire Play Pokemon experience, in that we are sort of getting out there and meeting a lot of people that we might not have otherwise. Like, you know, being able to, like the people that can't travel, for example, like just going to Melbourne for OCIC and meeting people there that weren't able to travel to any of the other ones. It's really nice to be able to get out there, be social, and of course go to some places that everyone wants to go to, like Japan, and have a really good time. With, again, it is going to be so decked out with Pokemon stuff, being that home of Pokemon. It's going to be really exciting, and I'm really looking forward to it. But as we've done in the last 3 episodes of the podcast, we are going to go into a random question just to keep everyone on their toes. And again, we were in the lab, we were thinking long and hard about what question to ask, and we've decided, RicFlareon, if you could only eat one food for an entire year, what would you choose?
One food.
Food.
So if I was to pick, like, say, a potato, could I cook it any way I want? Because I think that'd be a good food.
I mean, it's a pretty good pick. There is
I'll
there's
allow
a lot of ways you can cook a potato, so bit of variety there.
meal options.
Yeah,
You got
like mash, fries, baked potato,
hash browns.
brown. Yeah, like endless possibilities.
It's the Eevee of the vegetable.
Oh
world.
yes, yeah, exactly. Like
I see why he's chosen it now.
yes, that's my family.
Hey, you want to eat your fam? Hey, all right. All you, I guess. This is just a hypothetical. But I mean, Mikey Morgs, I'll ask you the same question, but I feel
Pizza,
like
no
Rick's already got the
question.
best answer.
Pizza. It's pizza, 100%.
Also variety.
Yeah, and it's pizza. Like, you can eat pizza for breakfast and enjoy it. You can eat pizza for lunch. You can eat pizza at dinner time. Potato, that's going to be the most boring answer. No, it's pizza. Guaranteed. Next question. Thank you.
Well, call me Team RicFlareon, I guess. But I get it. I'm not here for the potato slander. Oh, but Agent Magikarp. Numero 3, one food, full year.
Look, you could go really so many ways with this. Yeah, like going with Rick's answer, you know, going so many different ways with one ingredient, or, I mean, so not cuisine, like one cuisine for the whole year.
No, you don't.
It's
you don't
one
get to say
food.
Indian and then
Oh
have access
God!
to it.
Wait, can you add stuff to the food too, or like, you know, just oh man.
I mean,
I'm
I
pretty-
would say I think spices are okay. I think
Spices.
it depends a little bit, because, like, you know, if someone were to say pizza, for example, you've got a lot of different sauces you could use to make a pizza, so it's sort of built into the food.
Look, going with the Japan theme, I really like sushi. So that's I mean, I could eat that all the time. So yeah, so it's just rice and fish, really, or meat, um, or vegetables. I mean, is that a bit cheating? Yeah.
Oh, I'm willing to allow it, as
I will
obviously,
also allow it.
based on the contract that we had you sign at the start of this. You have agreed to stick to these, to this one food group for the rest of the year. So I'll allow it.
Yeah, I mean, if I've chosen pizza, which you can literally put anything you want on a pizza, whether it's just garlic or whether it's like Nutella, and you can have a dessert pizza, I'm sure you can say sushi and it not be cheating.
Oh yeah, you can do a dessert sushi too.
Yeah.
Dessert sushi? Huh?
Nutella and seaweed.
I don't know. Sticky rice.
I don't know. Oh man,
That's some
with
liberal
dessert.
seaweed.
dessert.
Oh, I can't.
Crisp seaweeds on top of the sticky rice. I don't know.
My mind is blown.
We're just deconstructing it now. So
It's one of those fancy Newcastle places, right?
look, with all our pubs around. Yep.
Yeah, they
So
serve
we
it
got
right next to the chicken schnitzel.
so we got hashtag Team Sushi, hashtag Team Pizza, and hashtag Team Potato. Let us know what your team is.
That's engagement if I've ever seen it. Hashtag Team Potato.
Yes.
With that said, that does sort of bring us to the end here. So really appreciate all three of you for coming on. Before we go, let us know sort of your Twitter handle, all of that sort of stuff, where we can sort of keep up with you. Because again, for those that aren't paying attention, any one of these three gentlemen could be the next Pokemon Go World Champion. So Agent Magikarp, I'll let you sort of go first.
Oh, sorry, I missed that last one.
Let us know sort of Twitter handle, where we can find you.
So my Twitter handle is just that Agent Magikarp. So that's pretty simple. Yeah, that's me.
You say it's simple, but it's a rarity to be able to get the name you actually want. But Mikey Morgs.
Well, I don't really have anything kind of set up just yet. But we can put a link in the description for the podcast if you like, when that comes out.
All right. So I like the word "yet." It means that something's cooking.
Yeah, it is absolutely.
Yeah, all of the links will be
100%.
down there. And
Beautiful.
as we said, we're recording this when there's about 6 weeks to go between now and Japan. When you're listening to this, it's probably more like about 2 weeks. So he's had plenty of time. If there's no link down there, for shame.
Absolutely. You can throw all of your hashtag Team Pizza hate my way if you like.
I mean, I don't know where we're going to send the hate if we don't know where to find you, but I guess we'll figure it out.
Directly in Japan.
It'll all be saved up. But Rick, what's the phrase? I want to say last but not least, but I couldn't find the words. RicFlareon.
Yeah, I'm just at RicFlareon on Twitter. So, yeah.
I'm showing my jealousy here, having to be PvPSteve with a number on it.
I only just got it like a few weeks ago. I just tried and I happened to be able to get it. So
what?
Yeah.
No, shot.
I didn't used to have it, but
Wait,
yeah.
what was it before?
It was RicFlareon Woo.
Oh, right. Yeah, it was too. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, maybe there's just been that, the account deactivation. I'm sitting there waiting for @PvPSteve to become available because the guy hasn't tweeted in like 9 years or something. I'm waiting.
Oh,
Maybe
maybe
you can get it now.
All right, that's what I'm doing straight
maybe
up.
Elon Musk just deactivated all the accounts. So
Yeah.
If my handles change by the time this podcast goes up, you'll know what's happened. But yeah, again, massive congratulations to all three of you. I'm really looking forward to seeing you all compete in Japan. It's sure to be a really, really good time. Only the second ever Pokemon Go World Championship. So Really looking forward to seeing you all there. But yeah, thanks for coming on, guys.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to our Road to Worlds edition of the podcast. We hope you've learned something from these last 4 episodes, talking to each of these top-tier Australian battlers, and we really appreciate all of the support so far. We're both flying out to Japan in the next couple of days, and are really looking forward to watching the World Championships unfold, where we will certainly see one of these Aussies become the 2023 Pokemon GO World Champion.
Please be sure to give us any feedback from these first 4 episodes. What you liked, what you didn't like, what we could improve, what you would like to see going forward, and we'll be back with the Good Day Battlers podcast from the other side of worlds. And of course, be sure to follow us on Twitter and YouTube at Good Day Battlers to stay up to date with everything going forward.
We hope you've learned something from these last 4 episodes, talking to each of these amazing Australian battlers, and we really appreciate all of the puts.
That's going in the bloopers.
Fair enough, I knew it when it was going.